The city lights flickered against the rain-slick pavement as Olivia Kensington stepped out of the upscale restaurant. Her heels clicked confidently as she made her way toward her car, a sleek black Rolls-Royce parked at the curb. The valet had just returned her keys, bowing slightly before rushing back inside to escape the cold drizzle. She barely had time to press the unlock button before she noticed something strange. A dog, large, ragged, and soaking wet, stood defiantly in front of her car door, its piercing amber eyes locked onto hers, unflinching, unwavering. Olivia froze. The German Shepherd's ribs were visible beneath its matted fur, its paws caked in mud. A fresh wound marred its side, and despite the clear agony, the dog didn't move. It simply stood there, its breath misting in the cool night air, barring her from the vehicle. "Go on," she said, waving her hand. "Shoo!" But the dog didn't budge. Instead, it growled, a deep, guttural sound that sent a shiver down her spine. Her fingers hesitated over the door handle. Something about the dog's stance, its unwavering resolve, told her this wasn't random. And then she saw it, through the rain-streaked window just beyond the tinted glass. A shadow, someone, or something, was inside her car. Her breath caught in her throat. The dog wasn't trying to attack her. It was trying to protect her. Olivia's heart pounded. She staggered back, her fingers trembling as she reached for her phone. A flicker of movement inside the car sent her pulse racing. The shadow shifted. A dark figure hunched in the back seat. The German Shepherd growled louder, stepping protectively in front of her. With a sharp inhale, Olivia pressed the emergency dial on her phone. But before she could hit call, the car door suddenly creaked open from the inside. A man bolted out, dressed in dark clothing, his face obscured by a hood. The dog lunged. Teeth bared, it clamped onto the man's arm with surprising force, yanking him back. The man let out a strangled yell, thrashing violently. Olivia stumbled back, her breath hitching. The dog held firm, snarling as it dug its paws into the pavement. The man managed to break free, kicking the dog before sprinting into the darkness. Olivia stood frozen, watching as the German Shepherd collapsed onto the wet pavement, panting heavily. She didn't think. She acted. Rushing forward, she knelt beside the dog, ignoring the mud staining her expensive coat. The animal whimpered but didn't flinch away. Something cold and metallic glinted beneath its matted fur. She reached down and carefully removed a rusted, nearly illegible dog tag. The name was scratched out. Only one word remained visible. Help, the mystery. Unfolds, Olivia's stomach twisted. Someone had deliberately erased the dog's identity. But why? She looked down at the animal's frail body, the scars marring its side, the haunted look in its amber eyes. This wasn't just a stray. This dog had been through hell, and whoever had hurt him wasn't done looking. A rustling sound behind her sent a jolt through her spine. She wasn't alone. Suspense and unexpected. Twist Olivia's pulse pounded as she scanned the shadows. Was the man still watching? Had he come back? The dog let out a weak whimper, nudging her hand. Despite its injuries, it still tried to protect her. Gathering her courage, Olivia carefully lifted the dog, cradling its trembling body as she rushed to her car. She needed to get it to safety. As she drove, she couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. Every set of headlights in her rearview mirror felt like a threat. She took random turns, trying to lose an invisible pursuer. Finally, she reached her gated mansion. The moment she stepped inside, locking the doors behind her, she let out a shaky breath. But as she looked at the injured dog, something inside her shifted. She couldn't just leave it at a shelter. It had saved her life. Emotional bonding and trust building. Over the next few days, Olivia worked tirelessly to help the dog recover. She fed it, cleaned its wounds, and provided the warmth it had never known. At first, the dog remained distant, flinching at sudden movements, But, little by little, it began to trust her. One night, as she sat beside it, the dog did something it had never done before. It placed its head in her lap. A lump formed in her throat. This wasn't just a stray. This was a survivor. The rescue mission. An escape from danger. Just as Olivia began to feel safe, a knock at the door shattered the illusion. She peered through the peephole. A man stood outside, his face hidden beneath a hood. Her blood ran cold. Grabbing her phone, she dialed security, her voice trembling. The dog, sensing danger, let out a low, menacing growl. The figure outside lingered for a moment before slipping, away into the night. Safe haven and recovery. That night, Olivia made a decision. She wasn't going to let the past haunt this dog anymore. She took it to a specialist, uncovering its true identity. The scars, the erased name. It had once belonged to a wealthy businessman who exposed illegal dog fights. He had been murdered, and the dog had barely escaped. Someone wanted it dead. Powerful emotional climax? One night, the dog had a nightmare, thrashing, whimpering in its sleep. Olivia rushed to its side, gently stroking its fur. "You're safe now," she whispered. For the first time, the dog didn't flinch. Instead, it leaned into her touch, trusting her completely. As Olivia scrolled through old newspaper articles, her breath hitched. One name stood out. The man who had owned this dog. His case was never solved. A chill ran down her spine. Whoever had tried to silence him was still out there. And now they knew where to find the last witness. The dog.